Wait, we're on? Oh, hi everyone. There's no more excuse. I'm not gonna keep on saying, I'm sorry I haven't been filming in a while. Because a lot of stuff's been happening. School's starting, a lot of different stuff. And we're starting a new regime. We are introducing a new rule. From now on, during the school year, because a lot of stuff's going on, we're gonna start posting videos only once a month. But there's a catch. Sometimes, once in a while, we'll post some small snippets with other stuff, like kitchen gadget reviews. As you can see, there's a whole lot of kitchen gadgets in here. So, we are making something you never would have thought we'd be making. We're focusing a lot on this channel on cooking, like, for example, stout cakes, matzo ball soup, cookies. Today we're doing something completely different. We're doing, as you might have guessed from the recipe name and the fancy mold, we're making 3 cheese ravioli. And to go along with our 3 cheese ravioli, we'll also be making a butter sage sauce with a recipe from my dad. Alright guys, we are gonna film this recipe from radish, by the way, in 3 steps. First, we're gonna make the dough. Then, we're gonna make the filling. And then, we're gonna make the sauce and cook the raviolis and put it all together. Alright guys, so first thing we're gonna need to do is take our eggs and crack them into a small bowl. I have a very small bowl. Alright, so now we're making the dough. We've cracked 1 egg into the bowl. We have 2 eggs, and for this for the dough, you need olive oil, I believe, olive oil, eggs, and flour. That's it. It's the easiest dough for the best reward. And yep, we're cracking our eggs into the bowl like that. And then let's see what the next step entails. Okay, so what it says is measure 1 1/4 cups of flour with accuracy. And it asks that you use a spoon to scoop the flour in, and then says do not overpack. So I'd say that's about a cup. Okay, so we've got this in our large mixing bowl. And next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our oil. And our oil, we need 1 tablespoon of the stuff. Our handy dandy tablespoons. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of oil, like that, and add it in. And then we're gonna have to add our eggs and then a pinch of salt. So there are our eggs. Okay, then you're gonna use your salt. We have this nice big salt shaker, measure about 3/4 of a teaspoon. I'd say that's about 3/4 of a teaspoon. Put it back on the Lazy Susan and let it fly. So now, what we're gonna do is, on the topic of dough, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna get this, which is a dough hook, and attach it. Now we're gonna lower this down, lock it. Okay, so what I just learned from this culinary skill in our radish is that there are 3 ways to knead pasta dough. We are personally taking the easy peasy route and using our hand mixer. You can also use your hands, of course, and knead the dough, and then you can also use a food processor, which also works. But then you can also use a stand mixer. I was saying hand mixer, but I meant stand mixer. And lock it, plug it in. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna start on low and then slowly get it higher in the duration of 4 to 6 minutes. And what I have here is a spatula, and every once in a while I'm gonna take the dough hook out and scrape down the sides so that all the flour gets right in to that, into the grasp of the dough hook, and then start again on low. And we're getting a little bit of a liquid dough, so I think it's time for us to scrape down our sides again. This is kind of an uphill battle. So we're gonna increase the speed on our stand mixer, but we're also gonna increase the speed on your video in time lapse. So we got our big ball of dough, and we're gonna take this cutting board, we're gonna net it a little. You know, netting is important. Kind of looks like a pudding. So I'm mixing this dough until it's smooth and elastic, or should I say netting this dough until it's smooth and elastic. It's getting to the smooth point, but elastic not quite yet. So what I recommend doing is moving it around a little, and then at the same time kind of using the heel of your hand, this part, and banging it into the dough until it becomes kind of a dome shape. Then kind of baking it back into a runch shape, and then trying again. Hey guys, let's try to make this ball of dough stick on the ceiling. No, I'm just kidding. Balls of dough are actually quite cool, because when you think about it, they're made of loose ingredients such as flour and eggs and salt and olive oil, and a lot of those things are actually a little bit fluid more than solid, but when you mix them together, look what it combines to make. It's kind of like Play-Doh. It's actually amazing. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, after you're finished netting the dough, you're gonna cover this ball of dough up in saran wrap, and then let it sit at room temperature. I'm gonna put it right there for 30 minutes. And meanwhile, let's make our 3-cheese filling. Alright guys, so now we're gonna make our 3-cheese filling. What you're gonna need is some shredded mozzarella cheese, like we have right here, a 1/3 of a cup of whole milk ricotta, and 2 tablespoons of fresh grated Parmesan cheese. And I am currently grating. Okay, so, you think this is 2 tablespoons? I think this is 2 tablespoons. Okay, so first let's get our 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, fresh and, you know, a little bit heaped, but that's because some of it's sticking. But I love Parmesan, so I'm gonna put a little more, don't you think? We're gonna add a 1/3 of a cup of whole milk ricotta, which is right here. It's a soft cheese, actually. And this is a little more than 1/3 of a cup. Yeah, there we go. That's a 1/3 of a cup. Maybe a little more. You know, it's ricotta. Can't get enough ricotta. You can't get enough of anything on this list. Parmesan, ricotta, then we're gonna add 1/4 cup of mozzarella. This doesn't go very well into the bag, so we are just gonna take a big handful and stuff it in, then add it to our mix, and that is all we need. Now we're gonna take this here spoon and mix it all together. All right, so what you're gonna do is
cut your dough into halves and then cut it into 3 equal pieces and do this with each half. There we go. And then use 2 pieces of that dough and roll the 2 pieces both into 2 very thin rectangles that just overlap the sides of the ravioli mold. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna use the 2 paper thin rectangles you got and take one and go like this and cover every little piece of the ravioli mold, and then poke little holes because that's where the filling's going to go. And speak of the devil, it's the filling. So what you do is you take a little bit of the filling, not a ton, and you put it in each of the little holes or grooves we just made. Easy. We just do that a bunch. All right, so this is what we've done. We filled every hole with a little bit of the ricotta, parmesan, and mozzarella mixture. And now we're gonna use the second rectangle to go like this. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is we're gonna use a rolling pin and you're gonna take that and use the rolling pin to cut out the individual raviolis and put emphasis on either side when you want to take a little bit of the dough off. So now what we're gonna do is take out the mold and flip it upside down and pop out our wonderful ravioli. Spectator is correct. They are very good looking. We added a little bit too much filling, so what we're gonna do is, that's a good lesson. Next time we're gonna add a little bit less filling, and then these raviolis are gonna turn out perfect. All right, we're doing our next batch. It starts out from an egg, then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then smaller when it turns into beautiful, beautiful ravioli. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm filling our second batch of ravioli with filling, and I've learned my lesson. I'm not adding too much because a little goes a long way. I've said that a lot on my YouTube channel. I feel like it might actually be a slogan. I might say that every video. A little goes a long way. A little tahini goes a long way. A little liquid smoke goes a long way. And a little filling goes a mile. Leftover filling, so I'm going to take a taste of it. The Parmesan makes it not too fluffy, but the ricotta makes it quite a lot fluffier. And the two, when combined, make a great combination, and then the mozzarella is a good addition. I think it's just overall a great filling. We're back again today, and we're going to show you guys how to make your sage and butter sauce. First thing you want to have here, we have this very handy device. It's called an Oxo Chopper, and what it does is there's this little thing at the bottom, and we fill it with whatever we want to chop. At the moment, we're chopping sage. And what you do is you hit this, and there are all these blades, and they're sharp, and they go down super quick with the push of your hand, and cut it, and then the blades spin. Man, that did a relatively good job. Okay, so we finished chopping the sage roughly with the Oxo Chopper, but it wasn't quite enough. So we took it out, took my favorite knife, and these are very good knives, and did the trusty old TikTok chop to really get it to mincing stage. This is good. Just gonna work a little. In the meantime, we're also putting on a pot of water to boil for our raviolis. Okay, so here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need, of course, our beautiful, finely chopped sage. You're gonna need about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. You're gonna need some Parmesan to sprinkle on when you're finished your sauce to give it flavor, but so that it doesn't crisp up at the end. And you're gonna need about this much butter, which is about 1/3 of a stick, or 1/6 of a cup of butter, because a stick is 1/2 a cup. By the way, there are tomatoes and basil here also, because we're gonna make a nice tomato and basil salad to go with our raviolis. Okay, so you have to put in 1/4 of a cup of olive oil, about 1/4 of a cup, and there we have that in there, just enough to roughly cover the bottom of the pan. So you're gonna want your oil on a little bit of heat, and then gauge how much of everything you're gonna put in, really, based on how much pasta you have. So I'd say this is about the right amount of butter for the amount of pasta we have. I mean, we have a few leftovers. It isn't really the end of the world, is it? So I'm gonna start plunking in the butter. Looks like the pan's heated up enough. Heated up, a little bit of spatter in the middle there. Enough for our butter to easily melt. All right, so our butter is in and we're stirring it up. Okay, so we're gonna add our sage. Let's dump this stuff in there. Wow, that's a good amount of sage. Let's mix this. Oh, now we're gonna walk away, make tomato salad, set the table, because in 3 minutes, when the raviolis go in the water, dinner is served. All right, so we're gonna start plunking our raviolis into our pasta water. This is the big moment. Got quite a few in there. I'm gonna start plopping. Plop. Whoa. All right, so we're gonna cook these raviolis for 2 to 3 minutes, or until they float to the surface. It says we're just gonna put our butter sage sauce on top of our raviolis on our individual plates, and then we're gonna sprinkle some Parmesan on top of our plates. So let's do it. Okay, so what you're gonna do, that smells delicious. Once you have your ravioli is, if you put a lot of sauce in, it'll be in 1 dollop usually. So just do a nice shake about. Get a nice bit of sauce on each ravioli, and then maybe decorate it with a few leftover sage leaves. And I'm going to use 3 to do this. All right, now we can't forget about everyone's favorite ingredient, parm, aka Mr. Parmesan cheese. And today we need to use a ton of Parmesan cheese. Do not skimp on the parm. All right, so we've got our nice plate. We've got our tomato salad, which I'm just gonna sit off to the side at the moment, because our main course right now is our ravioli. We've got some nice decorative leaves of sage, so we're gonna take those off, and now we're gonna start eating. It's the fastest now to eat I've ever done. All right, this is actually very good. At first I had my doubts about the butter sage sauce, but I kind of underestimated it because it goes really well with the Parmesan cheese. The Parmesan cheese definitely makes a big impact on this dish, and it's powerful but not too powerful, lighter than marinara, but just a little heavier than just parm, and it's the perfect mix, I think. And usually I go, oh wow, and all this, but I'm just gonna give you my honest opinion. I think these raviolis are really good, and I haven't tried a lot of homemade pasta, and I've done this recipe. This is my second time now, and I think this recipe is very good. All right, everyone, I love this recipe, and I hope you do too. Tell me how your raviolis turned out in the comments below, and don't forget, if I can do it, you can do it.